our final discussion for today is from Professor Jeffrey Silberman, who's an associate chair in the Textile and Development and Marketing program at the Fashion Institute of Technology in the USA. His presentation today is on building a fiber company in the 21st century, a new model. Professor Silberman.
Thank you. Today I'd like to talk to you about fiber marketing, what it is, what people think it is, and what it's not. Okay? First of all, what a lot of people think fiber marketing is essentially putting a logo on a product, driving up with a truckload of money, giving a lot of advertising, and all of a sudden you have a success. That's just not what it is. What fiber marketing is trying to understand the core business of the people that you're dealing with and insinuating yourself into that core business. In order to do that, what you really have to do is you have to understand everything from the ground up, from growing to spinning to weaving, to dyeing and finishing, cut and sew, retail, and of course the consumer. Now, as we go through this, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to keep a few things in your mind so when this stays up. First of it's just not going to happen. Okay. Now, first of all, I'd like you to keep some thoughts in your mind. Two quotes in particular that I heard just recently. One was from Paul Sharon. In case you happen to know him, he's the CEO of Liz Claiborne, which is about a $2 billion operation. They make apparel. When I was speaking with him, he said that he would rather spend money tightening up his supply chain in bad times rather than spending money trying to look for the last person that wants to buy a Liz Claiborne sweater. Okay? Now, again, if you go back to what I started by saying, if you want to insinuate yourself into this business, you have to understand how he's thinking. So what he is really saying is that fiber marketing, in any case, I should say, he is thinking that rather than try to spend money on promotion, he would rather focus on supply chain management. Now, the second quote that I'd like you to think about is from Jerry Della Femina, who was on Larry King about 4 weeks ago, and they were talking about the cigarette industry. And essentially what he said, was that when the government forced restrictions on the cigarette companies in the United States and told them they could not do certain kinds of advertising, that while they complained and they said it's unfair, they were secretly giggling all the way to the boardroom because, in essence, all of a sudden, $5 million worth of advertising per year went right to their bottom line. They loved it. And not only that, but their competition couldn't advertise either. Okay, so when you're thinking about marketing or fiber marketing, you really have to kind of take that into consideration. But in essence, what you're doing with fiber marketing is you're always taking a commodity product and you're trying to lift it out with fashion. Now, what's going to happen, I believe, between the 20th century and the 21st century is that while we segmented, and you'll see some of the fibers that we go through, while we segmented some products, now we're going to go through a finer segmentation. We've seen it with cotton, we've seen it with wool, and we'll go through a little bit of that. But first of all, while we'd like to think that fiber content really has a tremendous amount to do with the consumer buying a product, it's really determined by price, color, pattern. Those three things kind of change around every once in a while, but those are really the purchasing drivers. Fiber content, don't get me wrong, is in there. It's definitely in there, but is by no means the number one purchasing driver. So you don't have the ability to say to your customer, if you use our Fibre, if you use our Fibre logo, you will automatically sell product. Okay, so let's take a look at some of what we expect to happen in the 21st century. First of all, here are some of the questions. What will the new techniques be? Okay, how will we market? Will we start to understand that there's a new business climate out there, that we have to get into the CEO's head? Because what does the CEO think about? He thinks about, do I grow the business? Do I shrink the business? Do I maintain the business? Okay? Will we get into it that way? We also have to decide who our long-term customers are. Will they be innovators? Okay? Or will they just be good competitors? The best example I can give is in computers. Apple Computer, I think you would agree with me, they are the innovators. They come up with new products. However, Microsoft, on the other hand, are fierce competitors. And so Microsoft is a different kind of competitor. Now, who will the implementers be? A lot of people will talk about a lot of different things that they plan to do, that they will do, but will they actually do it? Okay, so in essence what I'm saying is choose your customers on a long-term basis. Who is going to be with you in the short term? Who is going to be with you in the long term? Will the customer participate? If you're talking about consumer products and it's probably the retailer, you can design a wonderful promotional program. You can talk about the benefits of your product, but if the retailer does not buy into the program, it really won't get anywhere. And then finally, even if that happens, will the consumer even notice? You can have a marketing program that works all the way down the line, but does the consumer notice? Will the consumer care? The traditional Fibre marketing model is essentially a focus on the consumer with strong print advertising, strong broadcast. The company is usually set up as a non-profit organization, or if it's a synthetic fiber company, it's a non-profit division within it. And we'll talk in a few moments about how that affects their performance. They usually incorporate pull-through marketing. That was established by Cotton Incorporated, who spoke to the consumer before speaking to the industry to create the pull-through demand, to get the consumer to ask the retailer for product, who would ask the mill for product, and all the way up the line until the industry pulled it through. They would use strong promotion, and they would try to add tangible value to the entire industry. Okay? Now, this is Cotton Incorporated's logo. I'm sure you know it. I'm sure you've seen it. They are clearly the innovators of the last century. They were the first ones to use pull-through marketing effectively. It's not that they were the first fiber marketing company, but they clearly did compete against the synthetic fibers, and they clearly did a fantastic job. I worked at Cotton Incorporated. I was the director of marketing there, and I'm very proud of that. The Wool Bureau, another tried and true company. The Wool Bureau does a very good job. They do it a little bit differently. They focus a lot on quality. They focus a lot on quality assurance. But the unique thing about how they do it is that they use quality as a tool to help their customers. It's not just that they use it to bang them over the head and say, you're not doing this right. They use it as a way to get close to their customers, which is incredibly important. Masters of Linen, who promote flax, Western European flax, okay, have their own agenda. In essence, they're supported by the flax growers in Europe, and so they take the position that the best flax, the only flax if you will, is flax that comes from Western Europe. Now, you really can't blame them because this is where their constituency is, and this is how they promote things, and this is their position. This is fine. Now we have the Egyptian cotton logo. The Egyptian cotton logo is the program that we've been talking about for a couple days now. I've been working on it for 2 years with the Ministry of Economy and Foreign Trade and Alcotexa, the Alexandria Cotton Traders Organization, with the help of APRP and GTZ. And in essence, it has gotten off to a tremendous start. You heard Dr. Swanberg this morning talk about the partners, West Point Stevens, that we're working with. They launched the logo about a half a year ago, and we have had numerous discussions with other companies. We still are in discussions with other companies, but in essence, I can't tell you about those discussions, and I'm sure you can understand that. But one of the things that we started to do is we started to make this an entirely virtual company, which means we set up a website so that somebody who is interested in the logo can find out what they want to do or more about the program by going to CottonEgypt.org, and they can find out about it. They can apply for the license over the internet, and the beauty of it is that since we are in a country where the Cotton Exporters Association really does control most of the flow of fiber, we can actually track back who is using Egyptian cotton and who is not using Egyptian cotton. So that's the first step in it. Now, we plan to do a lot of other things which I'm not at liberty to discuss, but what I can tell you is that one thing that's not in the plan is we don't plan to back up a truck full of money to our customers and say, if we give you $1 million, we want you to use the logo. That is not in the plan, that I can tell you. Then, of course, there's the SEPIMA group. Is anybody here from SEPIMA? Great bunch of guys. Okay. Now, back to how a nonprofit organization functions. With a fiber marketing company, they have two constituencies. They have the growers, who are the ones that pay the bills for them, and they have their customers, who are the industry, and they have the consumer that they have to serve. In order to do both of that, they find themselves in a tricky position. They cannot lose their funding, yet they cannot lose the consumer's ear. Okay, so that's what we mean when we say that it's a nonprofit corporation, usually, or a nonprofit division. How do you determine the success? Okay, you're not selling fiber, you don't have a profit, you don't have a bottom line. What about fiber pricing? How many of us that have been involved in fiber marketing can really say that we've really done a fantastic job when the price of cotton drops to 52 cents and then 43 cents or wherever it is? You have to acknowledge that probably the reason why you gained market share happens to be that the fiber price dropped. And most mills will shift blends when fiber prices change. New product adoptions, it's another way that fiber companies will judge their success. In other words, if you get one of your companies to use your fiber logo, use your enriched fiber content in several products, then what happens is that then you claim success for that. That's another way in which success is measured. Again, how does fiber price dropping or going up affect that? New markets penetrated. If you weren't in the towel business and now you are in the towel business, does this mean that you've increased market share? Okay, it's a very difficult thing to do. If you start to judge consumer promotion and start to ask the question, well, what percent of the public now recognizes our logo, attaches quality to the logo, has good feelings about the logo, can you still honestly say that you've sold a dozen sheets or a dozen dress shirts based on the fact that you ran $1 million worth of advertising or that there's a logo in the back of a shirt? It's very hard to say. Research and development, probably one of the most important things Cotton Incorporated did was that they developed the high volume instrument testing through different universities, and they marketed it. And what happened was that told the consumer that it didn't, I'm sorry, not the consumer, it told the customers that what it said on the outside of the bale was really indicative of what was on the inside of the bale. And that proved to be a tremendous advantage, and it enabled them to get a 2 to 3% price increase over world price cotton during that time period. So, for the 21st century, some suggestions. Number one, continue to invest in new product research. You absolutely have to do it. Number two, use total quality management as a way to get closer to your customer. Take a leaf out of what the World Bureau has done. It's been very effective. Tie promotion spending to tangible goals. In other words, if you plan to invest in a particular market, in a particular product, buy a particular vehicle, whether it be a magazine, a newspaper, television, whatever, judge those results. See if your sales go up. Do market tests. Okay? And of course, track your customers' new directions. If you're involved in fiber marketing and you're not involved with the product development, the design studio, the marketing effort, you're not really in touch with your customers. Now, some new things to do. Focus on the problems that face your customers. Right now, business is lousy. Everybody acknowledges that. Again, think back to what Paul Sharon said. He would rather than spend money on promotion and promoting new fiber blends and promoting new lines, he would rather tighten up his supply chain. So learn supply chain management. Again, here I say, learn supply chain management. Don't just learn the words, learn what it really means. If you heard Brian August's presentation, you got a good taste of that yesterday of how that works. Reject the old notion when it comes to textile applications. Even during this conference, I heard a lot of people say that Egyptian cotton is great for 90 singles, for 60 singles, for 80 singles, for 100 singles. Well, that's just great, but there aren't that many products that have it. Now, if you take a terry cloth towel, for example, the loop yarn in a terry cloth towel is about a 15 singles cotton. Okay, so the notion of that Egyptian cotton is not right for that particular application does not necessarily make sense. Why? Because the consumer knows Egyptian cotton. The consumer likes Egyptian cotton towels. The consumer doesn't care if it's a 15 single or if it's a 90 single. The consumer will buy it because it's Egyptian cotton and it's in the towel. And once again, follow your customers into the new textile global markets. Let the boundaries dissolve. We're in a global marketplace. The tariffs are coming down, as you heard this morning. It's going to be a whole new world. And Egyptian cotton, I believe, has a competitive advantage as well as a comparative advantage as demonstrated by Ken this morning. And with that, I'll say thank you very much. And do you have any questions?
Are there any questions for Professor Silberman? You've gotten off very light today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yes?
Oh.
Question?
So, I'd like to ask you a question, Garth Carnaby.
Yes.
You said that the growers or the fibre producers were the ones that would pay. Is that actually necessarily the case? I mean...
I'm sorry, I missed one word that you said, sir.
You said that the fibre producers would pay all the costs in the system.
The fiber producers would pay, I'm sorry?
Pay the costs.
Of the promotions and of the management of the organization? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. I'm asking whether that's true or needs to be, whether that needs to be the case.
That does not need to be the case. Even a nonprofit organization can generate enough funds in order to operate and in order to go further than operation. A nonprofit corporation just means that they can't really show a profit. So if their expenditures rise with advertising and promotion and management, that's fine too. So through licensing, through registration fees, through all sorts of different methods, there are ways to raise money. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the grower. Unfortunately, I will say more than not, it is on the grower usually.
Are there any other questions? All right, I'd like to thank our speakers for taking the time and effort to make wonderful presentations to us today, and thank you, delegates, for coming to listen. One more final applause for the speakers, please. Hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.